Hey there! Tonight, we're traveling back to a time when the sky thundered with hooves and the ground shook with fear. You're about to step into the world of the Mongol Empire not as a warrior, not as royalty, but as a prisoner. Tonight's story is about what it was like to be captured by the Mongols. Before we begin, get comfortable. Dim your lights, let your breathing slow, and try to let go of the day. This story isn't fast. It isn't loud. It moves like a whisper across the step, slow, steady, and full of shadows. You awake to the cold bite of the year 1240 deep in the heart of the Mongol Empire. The sky is still dark, but the silence feels unnatural, almost sacred. It has been over 3 years since the fall of Kiev and the brutal winter campaigns across Rus lands. You are no longer who you once were. Time, captivity, and silence have carved you into something new. In these vast steppes, where Genghis Khan's sons now rule with iron will, your fate is not your own, but your breath still rises in the dawn air, proof that you are alive, still surviving under the watchful shadow of the great Khan's legacy. You've been running for hours, maybe days. The sky is wide and empty above you, the land even more so. Your feet ache, your breath is smoke in the cold air. Behind you, the world you knew has fallen. Your village is gone, burned, flattened. You didn't see it, but you heard it. Screams, fire, horses, so many horses. All you know is that you've been found. They came over the hills like a wave. No warning, no mercy. Their bows sang from the distance. You barely had time to shout. Your neighbor fell with an arrow through his chest. Your cousin ran and didn't make it far. You tried to hide behind a cart, but they surrounded you. Their horses circled like wolves. You froze. You didn't scream. You didn't move. Maybe that's why they took you alive. Now your hands are tied. Your mouth is dry. A rope pulls you forward every time you slow down. They don't speak your language. Or maybe they do and just don't care. To them, you're not a person. You're an asset, or a problem, or both. You try not to cry. You save your tears. You're going to need them later. The Mongol warriors don't walk. They ride. Always. Their horses are small, tough and fast. They don't ride just one. They rotate 3 or 4. Always fresh. You, on the other hand, walk barefoot in the cold. Your skin is cut from thorns and cracked from wind. No one offers you water. No one offers you food. At night, they camp in circles. Their tents yurts are round, warm and smoke-filled. You're left outside. Sometimes you're tied to a post, other times to a wagon wheel. You watch them eat boiled meat and drink something sour from leather bags. They laugh. They argue. They clean their swords. One of them notices you staring and throws a bone in your direction. You eat it. You don't think. Hunger doesn't wait for pride. The days blur. You lose track of time. Maybe it's been a week, maybe more. One night, a storm rolls in. Cold, bitter wind. Ice in the air. You think they'll leave you to freeze. But a woman, one of their own, throws a ruffled blanket over your shoulders. She doesn't speak, just walks away. It's the first time you feel something close to kindness. You remember her face, not because it was kind, but because it reminded you that not everyone here is cruel. Just most. You don't know where you're being taken. No one tells you. But slowly, the land changes. Flat grasslands rise into hills. Forests appear in the distance. The wind smells different. Less dust. More wood. Eventually, the pace slows. The warriors ride closer together. There's more talk. More caution. You're entering Mongol territory. Their camp is huge. Not a village. Not a city. Something in between. Hundreds of yurts, horses, fires, carts, dogs. Children run barefoot. Women stir pots over open flames. Men carry boughs longer than their arms. You're shoved to the center where a large yurt sits alone. Fancier, decorated with bright cloth and skulls. This is where decisions are made. Man steps out. His face is like stone. He wears a thick coat of fur and holds a curved sword, not drawn. His eyes scan you like a butcher choosing meat. He speaks to the others. They answer quickly, then silence. He steps forward, grabs your chin, turns your head side to side. You're a product now. He nods. They don't kill you. Not yet. You're not free. But you're not dead. That's something. You're given to a family, not adopted, assigned. You become part of their household, but not in any warm sense. You carry water. You clean waste. You gather dung for fires. You sleep by the animals. If you're lucky, they ignore you. If not, they beat you. Not out of anger, just out of habit. Sometimes you see other captives. Some look like you, some don't. A few are missing fingers. One has no ear. You learn the unspoken rules. Don't make noise. Don't ask questions. Always bow, and never ever touch a warrior's bow. One day, a man arrives. He's not Mongol. He wears robes, speaks many languages. He's a trader or maybe a messenger. He points at you, talks fast, offers coins, sheep, silk. The family says no. You're worth more as labor. You stop dreaming of escape, but you adapt, slowly. Your body grows stronger. Your hands roughen. You learn their words. Not many, just enough. Enough to understand when you're ordered to move, or punished, or needed. Winter comes. Harsh, endless. You think you'll die, but you don't. You bundle in furs, eat frozen broth, sleep in corners. You watch the stars and wonder if anyone remembers you, if your name is still spoken, or if you're just gone. The years go on. You see raids come and go, new captives arrive. Some scream, some beg. You look away. You've been them. You might be again. You've stopped being a person. You've become a shadow that works, eats, and doesn't talk back. But even shadows remember. And somewhere in your mind, buried under layers of dust and time, a small voice whispers, survive. One morning you're woken not by shouts but by silence. It's strange. To quiet, no dogs barking, no iron pots clanging. Just frost in the air and the low grunts of horses shifting in the cold. You sit up, confused. Your breath puffs out in front of you, curling like smoke. You look around. Others are waking too, but no one speaks. It's the kind of silence that comes with bad news. The kind that settles into your bones before your brain catches up. Then you hear it. Heavy. Not galloping like in raids. Not the wild chaos of returning warriors or stolen livestock. This is different. This is deliberate. Marching. Group of riders appears at the edge of the camp. They wear darker armor than usual. Their horses larger, thicker at the neck. Their faces are older, sterner, carved from wind and war. One of them carries a long spear with a black cloth tied just below the blade. It flutters in the wind like a whisper. Everyone begins to gather. Not running, not panicking, just coming together as if summoned by instinct. You're pushed forward with the other servants, wives, sons, and prisoners alike, even the camp. Dogs whine and follow. One of the warriors dismounts and begins to speak. His voice is deep, even. You don't understand most of it, but you hear one word repeated several times, Con. You don't know if someone important has died, or if someone important is dying. It doesn't seem to matter. The effect is the same. The camp is moving again. You don't pack. You never pack. Things are taken or left. You travel light because you have nothing. The migration begins within hours. This time, there's no walking beside oxen. You are thrown into a cart with sacks of barley, bleating goats, and cracked pots. The wheels groan under the weight. It's better than walking, but only barely. Your back aches. Your knees bruise against the wooden planks. Sometimes you feel the warm body of a goat fall asleep against you. Sometimes you wake up with its droppings stuck to your sleeve. You still sleep outside. Still eat bones boiled until they split and shatter in your teeth. Still count the bruises on your arms, new and old, like a calendar of pain. Days pass. Maybe weeks. You stop keeping track. There are no sunsets or sunrises anymore, just cold and less cold. Then one morning, the cart crests a hill, and you see it. The great camp. It stretches for miles. Tens of thousands of people. tents in rows like soldiers frozen in time. Horses everywhere grazing, drinking, stamping their hooves. Smoke rises from thousands of fires, flags flap in the icy wind, each carrying a different emblem, a different lineage. The air smells of dung, mutton, and metal. This isn't a settlement, it's an empire on pause. You are unloaded with dozens of others, old men, limping women, wide-eyed children. You are herded like livestock toward the far edge of the camp, where tall tents sit like judges on a hill. There are officials here, men in robes with scrolls, ink brushes and wax tablets. Some wear fur hats, most don't look up. One by one, people are sorted by skill, by strength, by age. You see an old man try to hide his shaking hands. A boy lies about knowing how to ride. A girl is taken behind the tents after she says she can sing. You don't ask what happens behind the tents. You already know. When your turn comes, a man with a long beard and tired eyes asks questions in a language that you half recognize. Another man translates. You give your name, they give you a number. That does. You are now a record, a tally, a line on parchment, a body that can be taxed, traded, sent, or stored. Your old life is gone. Even your memories feel less real now, as if they belong to someone else. A softer, warmer version of you that no longer fits your skin. You are sent to a work group, not a training group, not a servant unit, a labor cause. Builders, cart pullers, snow clearers, bone collectors. You're thrown a wool tunic full of holes under dull knife. There's no welcome, no explanation, just work. You dig holes. You haul stones from one place to another, then back again when someone changes their mind. You carry water for the smiths who hammer armor late into the night. Your shoulders burn. Your fingers bleed. No one offers bandages, so you tear strips from your own tunic. You press snow into the wounds until they go numb. You tie broken fingers to unbroken ones and keep moving. One day, a man in your group collapses. His lips are blue, his breath shallow. He's still alive, barely, when they drag him away. By nightfall, someone else is sleeping in his blanket. The Mongols don't believe in comfort. Nothing is wasted. Everything has purpose. Even your suffering, especially your suffering. Weeks blur. One morning, you're told to carry ropes, no questions, just follow. You walk until your legs stop feeling like legs, until your body feels like something being worn by someone else. Eventually, you reach a river. It's frozen solid, but you can still hear it groaning beneath the ice. The warriors want a bridge. You're not sure why the ice is strong enough to hold carts, but you don't ask. You just start building. Logs, ropes, planks, a temporary bridge for someone important. You're not even allowed to walk on it. Later that week, that same bridge is burned, on purpose, as if erasing it was part of the plan all along. You feel stupid for having helped. One night, a storm rolls in from the north. It arrives like a fist cold, hard, unforgiving. The wind tears at tents. The sky drops snow like punishment. You and the others huddle beneath carts and animal skins. By morning, two people have frozen to death. No one speaks of it. The camp just moves 10 paces west and pretends nothing happened. But you remember. You always remember. Another day, you're ordered to carry stones to the river bank. For what? You don't know. When you get there, you see it. A large wooden frame, built by engineers from the west. It's a trebuchet, a siege engine. It's not aimed at anything. Not yet, but it will be. You help raise its arm. You grease the wheels. You pack rocks into baskets the size of coffins. Every swing of the machine feels like a rehearsal for a war you'll never understand. Every launch shakes the ground. You think about how easy it would be to be beneath one of those rocks. How quick. You don't tell anyone that. Then one evening, a whisper moves through the labor groups. The Khan is dead. The real Khan, the great one. Genghis, or maybe his son. The whispers change each time you hear them. But the meaning is clear. The earth is about to move again. You feel it first in the silence, just like that morning long ago. No hammering, no shouting, just horses snorting and birds watching from bare trees. Then orders come. The tents are packed, the carts reloaded, the warriors don ceremonial armor painted, polished, edged in gold. A funeral march. You are not allowed to see the body. Only chosen men are. But you're still made to follow. Days of marching, through snow, through plains, through silence. You walk with thousands. The line of people stretches so far behind you, it disappears into the earth. At night, fires burn in silence. No music, no stories, just sleep and ash. On the third night, you see riders peel away into the dark, each carrying a piece of something. An urn, maybe. A flag. A bough. One rider drops something into a stream and disappears into the woods. You realize they're scattering. The Condor cross rivers, mountains, wind dots so no grave can be found, no tomb disturbed. The Empire doesn't bury its soul in one place, it buries it in all of them. When the morning ends, you return to camp. But nothing feels the same. Everyone walks. A little slower. The laughter, when it returns, sounds smaller. But the work goes on, the bridge is rebuilt. The siege engine is repositioned. And Yukon is named. And you are still here. Still registered. Still numbered. Still moving stones from one side of the road to the other, hoping someone, someday, forgets to call your name. The days pass in sameness. Night times are the worst. There's no comfort, no safety, just exhaustion and cold. You share a tent with others prisoners like you. The tent stinks of old leather, unwashed bodies, and wet wool. The canvas flaps at night in the wind like a restless ghost. Sometimes snow sneaks in at the corners. You pull the coarse blanket tighter around yourself and turn toward the body heat of others, though you don't know their names. Some are broken. They mutter in their sleep, cry without sound, flinch at shadows. You've seen one man wake up screaming, only to be beaten back into silence. You've seen another curl into himself day after day, refusing food, eyes glazed with a stare that sees nothing. Then one morning, he didn't wake up. A few are hardened, eyes like stone. They eat in silence. They stare through you. Their presence chills the tent more than the wind does. You wonder which one you'll become, the broken or the hollow. There's one man older, maybe 50. Scar over his cheek, teeth yellowed, hair tied in a leather knot at the back. His eyes are narrow, almost fox-like, and his movements efficient. They call him Tarun, though that might not be his real name. It could be a nickname or just a word that stuck. He speaks little, but watches everything, not with fear, not even with hate, just attention. You notice him more than the others. He feels like something to anchor to. One night, you share a strip of dried meat with him. You're not sure why, maybe because he looked like he hadn't eaten all day, or maybe because you're desperate for some thread of human connection. He doesn't thank you, just takes it, chews slowly, and grunts once. Next day, he helps lift your load when your back nearly gives out. Doesn't say why. Doesn't need to. That's enough. A small alliance is born. Not friendship. You don't speak much. But in the morning, you move side by side. When the guards bark orders, you glance at each other before obeying. When the snow piles deep and the firewood is heavy, he helps you balance the weight without a word. Survival is easier when you're not alone, even if the silence between you never breaks. Then one day, everything shifts. It's just after dawn. The sky is dull, pale blue behind streaks of dirty clouds. You're dragging a sack of oats from the supply tent when a guard approaches. He says nothing, just grabs your arm, firm but not cruel, and gestures. Follow. You obey. Always obey. You glance once at Tarun as you pass. He meets your gaze but doesn't nod, doesn't move. His face gives nothing away. They take you past the rows of tents, past the animal pens and the latrine pits, past the edge of the camp where the larger yurts sit. These are for the leaders. You've never been this close before. The air smells. Different here, less of smoke and waste, more of warm furs and rich spices. You feel the difference like a weight in your chest. The guard stops at a tent larger than any you've seen, tall, with red-dyed stitching and golden fringe. He parts the flap and pushes you inside. It's warm. Not just warmer than outside. Genuinely warm. A brazier glows in the corner, and thick woolen rugs blanket the ground. The air is heavy with unfamiliar scents: rose oil, incense, roasted meat, and something sweet like honey. For a second, your legs almost forget how to stand. Your stomach tightens at the smell of real food. You don't touch anything. A woman sits at the back on a low, cushioned seat. She's older, with streaks of silver in her braided hair and sharp eyes lined with kohl. Her robes are rich deep, purple with gold threading. Several rings shine on her fingers. She doesn't smile. The guard speaks to her in their language. She replies calmly. Then he turns to you and translates. Stiffly, she wants a servant. One who listens. One who doesn't. Speak unless spoken to. You fit both. You bow, deep and low. You know enough to do that. The woman nods once. You are taken in, not freed, not favored, just shifted, moved from one category to another. You're no longer laboring in the cold with the others. Now you're indoors, quiet, hidden, but still watched, always watched. Your tasks are simple. You clean bowls, set firewood, refill water, brush the rugs with a long-handled comb until they lay flat and neat. You keep your head down, your mouth shut. When spoken to, you answer simply. You don't ask questions. You don't linger. The food is better. You eat leftovers after the woman is done. Bits of soft rice, the bones of cooked lamb with shreds of meat still clinging to them, stewed fruits. You taste spices you've never known, cinnamon, cumin, clove. Your body starts to recover, slowly, quietly. Your hands are still cracked and raw, but your ribs don't show as sharply. You watch the woman closely, not with your eyes, but with your ears. You learn her rhythms, how she likes the rugs aligned, where she places her tea bowl, the way she clicks her tongue when displeased. Her name is Iuna. At least, that's what the others call her. You never use her name. She receives guests. Sometimes it's warriors, men in fur and leather, armor scuffed, faces wine-burnt and cruel. They bow to her, speak with respect. You listen, catching snatches of words, names, commands, mentions of rivers and passes, of raids and spoils. Once, you hear a word that sounds like your village. You hold your breath. No one notices. Other times, it's traders. They wear layered robes and carry scrolls and coins, spices and silk. They speak in many tongues. Iuna shifts between them easily. You notice how her tone changes, sharper with warriors, softer with merchants, always in control, always watching. Then there are the monks. They wear grey, heads shaved, faces serene. They sit cross-legged on cushions, palms up, voices low. They speak not of war or trade, but of stillness, cycles, stars. Iuna listens. She doesn't argue, just nods. Sometimes she asks a question you don't understand. The monks answer in riddles. You listen. You always listen. You don't understand everything, but slowly, patterns begin to form in your mind. Names are repeated, titles, ranks, regions. You learn who holds power, who opposes who, what signs to look for in the rise and fall of a voice. You begin to read the silences in conversations, the pauses, the breath held too long, the flicker of hesitation. These people live by signs, by signals. Nothing is said plainly. Everything means something else. One day, you notice the guards defer to Iuna, not just with bows, but with fear. Another day, you see her writing long pages in looping characters you cannot read. She writes with ink and a brush made of horsehair. When she finishes, she folds the page and seals it with wax. You fetch her water. You hand her the inkstone. You clean her writing tools without a word. She begins to notice you, not with kindness, not warmth, but with use. She calls you with a flick of her fingers. No longer needing the guard to speak for her, she tests you, sends you to retrieve things from the other tents, watches how quickly you return, how well you remember, how closely you follow instructions. You never fail. You can't afford to. Soon, she trusts you enough to be present when she speaks with the most private guests. You don't understand everything, but you remember everything. Every name, every phrase. Every sidelong glance, you learn, and you listen, and you survive. The woman you serve is called Saran. You never say her name aloud, not out of fear, but from instinct. You hear it often enough whispered by others, announced by messengers, bowed upon by lesser wives and camp aides. Saran, the widow of a war leader, a man whose name you never learned, only that he was cousin to the Khan himself, distant by blood, but close enough in lineage to carry weight in camp politics. That makes Saran important, and being important in a Mongol war camp means being dangerous, but not untouchable. Power here is not solid like stone. It shifts, drifting like sand under hooves, changing with the winds of favor, alliances, and whispers. A single wrong word can bring a tent down. A look held too long can change your fate. Yet Saran moves through this world like she was born to it. Sharp eyes, calm voice, always watching, always calculating. You don't know how long it takes before she begins to notice you, not as a thing, not as a mouth to feed or hands to use, but as someone useful first. You sweep the ground outside her yurt with bundles of pine twigs. You fold her robes one layer over another, careful not to crease the embroidered seams. You rinse her bowls in boiling water and place them in a precise pattern on the lacquer tray. You don't speak, you barely breathe. You listen. Saran never praises. She never scolds either, and that is, here, the highest compliment you can earn, to be invisible in your mistakes. You learn what she likes without asking. One robe for sleeping, another for meals, another still when she rides. Her boots must be worn from the inside before dawn. Her braided hair should not be touched by strangers. Her tent is to smell of cedar, not dry dung. You learn that she will wake in the middle of the night and ask for hot stones. So, you learn to keep them ready. You fetch water, cold and stinging, from the river. You place the kettle on the fire and wait, not for the boil, but for the exact sound the lid makes when it begins to rattle softly. That is the signal. You wrap the stones in cloth and tuck them under the rugs near her bedding. When snow comes, and it does, fierce and blinding, you sleep in the outer part of her yurt, near the fire pit. You don't ask why. You don't question your luck. It's the warmest you've been since capture. Warmer than any pit in the prison stockades. Warmer than the wagon tarps under which you'd once curled like an animal. One evening, she gestures for you to sit. You hesitate. The fire crackles. You glance at the guard near the door flap. No reaction. You obey. She hands you a bowl, stoneware, not wooden like the others use. Inside, broth thick with marrow, bits of mutton, strips of soft bread already soaked in fat. You lift it to your mouth slowly, expecting her to change her mind, to slap the bowl from your hands. And not the way. Others do not like their checking to see if you bite or beg or choke. No, Saran watches you like one might watch a new horse, assessing gait, endurance, posture. For the first time since capture, someone sees you not as a burden, not as meat that walks, not as a tool, but briefly as a human being. That night, with your stomach full and your skin warmed by the fire's glow, your mind drifts, not to escape, not to rebellion, but to memory. You remember your mother's voice humming in the fields, your brother's laughter, the squeak of the well handle at dawn, the rhythm of boots on packed earth. You remember being someone else. That memory keeps you company in the months that follow. Not always gently. Sometimes it hurts, like frostbite thawing in the blood. But it is still better than the emptiness. You once carried. In Saran's tent, you learn the rhythm of the Mongol camp. You learn how the warriors ride hours each day, not just training, but testing endurance. You watch the children practice with small bows, their bodies too small for the tension, but their eyes already sharp. Boys and girls both. By the time they lose their milk teeth, they're aiming at moving targets. By the time they reach 15, they can strike a crow mid-flight. You see women prepare fermented milk in skins hung from tripod poles. They sing as they churn. Sometimes they hum the same tune Saran does under her breath. When combing her hair, you observe the clans shift and move like herds, always temporary, always ready to be packed in less than an hour. Tents are folded like wings, belongings stacked in carts drawn by patient oxen or massive shaggy camels. The horses dozens, hundreds always nearby, always restless. You learn that in Mongol life, everyone has a purpose, even you. But your purpose changes when a messenger arrives on horseback. Saran is summoned. To where? You never find out. A council, they say. A wedding. A gathering of noble widows. It doesn't matter. She leaves. You are not taken with her. Instead, you are handed to a caravan unique. It is not a punishment. It is not an honor. It is simply the next thing. You don't cry. You don't protest. You bow, as you've seen others do, and you go. The caravan is made up of 25 carts each, pulled by 2 oxen. The carts are piled with everything imaginable: furs, iron pots, dried meats, baskets of millet, jars of honey, chests with unknown contents locked tight. Some carts carry live animals, goats, chickens, even a litter of pups once, yapping as you walked. There are guards, of course, mounted warriors who circle the moving line like hawks. There are cooks, leather workers, 2 old men who chant prayers each morning and evening. And there are slaves, like you. You sleep beneath the wagons on flattened hay or under bits of felt strung from the wheels. Sometimes it rains. Sometimes it snows. Sometimes the stars are so close and thick in the sky you forget your misery for just a moment. Days are long. Your back bends beneath sacks of grain and barrels of fermented milk. Your fingers crack in the cold and stay cracked even when you bind them in strips of cloth. You walk behind the oxen. You walk beside them. You learn which one has a limp, which one veers left, which one startles at thunder. You learn that the caravan moves not in straight lines, but in slow arcs guided by old maps, weather, and memory. You pass through open steppe, through valleys where the wind howls like wolves, across rivers on makeshift rafts. Once you cross a narrow bridge of ice over a frozen gorge. You don't look down. Sometimes the caravan camps near villages, small ones, full of yurts and sheep and wary eyes. You are not allowed to speak to them. You carry crates and barrels, you rest, and you move on. Other times you camp in the middle of nowhere, under skies so wide they make you feel like dust. There is no sound but the fire crackling and the slow munching of animals. You learn to cook. Not well, but well enough. You learn how to angle flat stones against the fire to heat bread. You learn to light fires in snow, to mend broken reins, to patch wheel hubs with wax and cloth. You learn that some of the caravan guards are cruel, but not all. One lets you eat the crust off his bread when no one is looking. One hands you a fur when your fingers are blue. You learn that kindness among the Mongols is a dangerous thing to visible, and it's punished. So kindness comes like smoke, briefly, invisibly, quickly gone. You don't speak much, but you listen and you remember. You remember the songs sung around Saran's fire. You remember how she arranged her bowls, how she braided her hair, how she looked at you not kindly, but clearly. You try to carry that gaze with you, that sense that someone once saw you. Weeks pass, then months. You stop counting. Seasons change. Spring mud slows your march. Summer brings dust storms that blind the horses. Autumn turns the grass red. Winter bites again sharp, gnawing endless. The caravan moves west. Always west. And with it, you move further and further from the place you once called home. At a dusty trading post between 2 lands you cannot name, you are sold again. The man who buys you is called Barda. He wears robes that do not drag and shoes that whisper over sand. His voice is low and measured, like water from a jar. He is neither cruel nor kind, not at first. He simply counts his coins, nods once, and gestures for you to follow. You do. There are no chains this time, no whips, only the weight of what you carry, sacks of wool, jars of oil, bricks of tea wrapped in bark and string. You are a part of the caravan now. Barda does not treat you like a slave. Not exactly. He does not ask you what you were before. He does not care. He gives you food each night. Warm, plain food. Not much, just enough. You sleep near the animals. At first, that feels like punishment, but you soon come to prefer it. Their warmth, their breathing, their steadiness. On the second day, he gives you a blanket. On the third, he asks you to count the bundles of pepper. When you finish, he checks your numbers. He grunts, not displeased. On the fourth day, he lets you mark the crates with a charcoal stick. The days begin to change, not because they grow easier, but because they stop being a blur. They begin to have shape, meaning. You begin to count them again not by wounds or punishments, but by the lands you cross and the faces you meet. You travel through hills that smell like pine, through salt flats that sting your eyes, through mountain passes where the air is so thin it scrapes your chest. The Silk Road is not a road at all. You learn. It is 1,000 little paths, a winding braid of trade and dust and stories past. From lips to lips, you listen. That is your greatest talent now. You listen when merchants speak in their strange tongues. You learn to pick out words: weight, coin, quality, spice. You do not speak much, but you understand. And when you do speak, it is quiet, careful, and always useful. One evening, by a green river you cannot name, Barter gives you a hard brick and tells you it is tea. You laugh. He does not. Press it, store it, sell it. He says, lighter than grain, worth more than meat. You learn. Salt is packed into horn. Silk is sealed in oil skin. Iron is carried on the backs of donkeys, whose bones you can count through their hide. Some things are worth more than you imagined. Some things are worth less. A story, you find, can change everything. One tale of a plague in a northern town can stop trade for months. One rumor of a new prince rising in the west sends entire caravans circling hundreds of miles out of fear. You realize borders are not drawn with ink, they are whispered into being. You listen closely. You begin to change. You don't notice it at first, but one day you realize you don't flinch when someone raises their hand to gesture. Your hands no longer tremble when asked to speak. You stop counting the days since your capture. You start counting the people who say your name. Barda does not call you boy or slave. He uses your name, though not kindly, not with affection, simply as a fact. That matters more than you expect. Sometimes a healer joins your caravan. She is older. Wears her hair in tight braids wound beneath a scarf. She smells of camphor, sweat, and dried figs. Her hands are rough, but her voice is soft. She speaks your language, but brokenly. Her words are clumsy, but they are warm when you cough for days. She gives you bitter leaves to chew when you slice your hand on a crate's sharp nail. She washes it without flinching and binds it in clean cloth. She touches you like you are human. That surprises you. She calls you child. You are grown. But when she says it, something ancient in you stirs. Not anger, not pride. Something you thought was long buried, something that once ran barefoot through grass and believed in kindness. You don't cry, but when she turns to wash the cloth, you look away, so she won't see your eyes. You begin to help her when she treats others. Hold the bowl, pass the herbs, learn the names: yerba, fennel, goat's root. She teaches without instruction. She lets you see her hands, her work. She tests you with glances and nods. One night, by the fire, she presses a thorny root into your palm. For memory, she says. You ask, to remember? She shakes her head. To forget? Same thing, you carry it in your pouch. The caravan grows longer. The road's more dangerous. You meet people from cities you've never heard of: Tashkent, Samarkand, Bukhara. Names like songs. They wear coins in their hair and layers of cloth that shimmer like fish scales. Some speak with their hands. Some bow before speaking. Some spit on the ground before bargaining. You mimic them all. You become a shadow, a mirror. Barda begins to rely on you. He grows older. His back stiffens. His breath shortens. At first, he brushes it off, calls it wind or dust or age. But one night, high in the mountains, he cannot rise. His lips are blue. His hands shake when he lifts his bowl. You carry him to his tent. The healer sits beside him. They speak in whispers. You catch fragments: lungs, water, to late. The next day, he gives you a sealed pouch. He doesn't explain. He just presses it into your hands with a look that makes your throat ache. 2 nights later, he is dead. The caravan stops. There is no funeral. Not truly. But you dig the earth deep and cover him with stones. The healer sings something low. You cannot understand the words, but you understand the weight. Later, alone, you open the pouch. Inside is a scroll. Short, just 7 words. You are not what was done to you. You stare at the writing. It is not his hand. It is hers. You fold the scroll carefully. Tuck it beside the root. You do not weep. But your chest feels different. Not hollow. Not full. Just real. You keep walking. The roads continue. So do you. You take more responsibility. You count the coin now. You track the goods. You fix the straps when they fray. The men in the caravan look to you with quiet nods. No one calls you slave. No one asks your past. You are what you are now. Once, at a market in a mountain town, a child runs into you. She stares up, wide-eyed. Her cheeks are flushed from the cold. She mutters a word in a tongue you barely know. You kneel and hand her the pouch she dropped. She grins, says something else, something kind. You answer, badly, but kindly. She runs off. The healer laughs behind you. Your accent is terrible. She says, so was yours. You answer. You both laugh. That night, she asks if you will stay with the caravan longer. You nod. You do not need to say why. Because the truth is this: you are no longer waiting to be rescued, no longer waiting to return to what was lost. You are becoming something new. You trade paper for ink. You begin to write. Not stories. Not yet. Just lists. Words. Names. Things you want to remember. Things you want to forget. You are still afraid, but not of being hurt. You are afraid of forgetting the person you are becoming. So you keep walking. You walk across snow, across sand, across bridges woven from rope and trust. You eat dates by the fire and drink yak milk in villages above the clouds. You patch boots and teach children how to load a cart. You teach the healer your old songs. She teaches you hers. You grow. You become. And every time you fold your blanket, you check your pouch. The scroll is still there. So is the root. You are not what was done to you. You are not. You are what you choose to carry, and what you choose to leave behind. Years passed, not quickly, not all at once, but slowly, like the steady melting of ice in spring, drop by drop, moment by moment. And with every moment, the world changes. Empires shift their weight like giants turning in sleep. Clans rise like dust in the wind and fall just as easily. New banners fly. New cans roar. Old ones vanish, swallowed by time. But you remain, not unchanged. No, that would be a lie. You are marked, etched, worn by the journey, but you remain somehow. You are no longer a prisoner. That chain was broken years ago, though the memory of it still tugs gently at your wrist. You are no longer a servant. Those days ended when the caravan faded into history. You are no longer a trader, not truly, though your hands still know how to tie a bundle, how to weigh salt, how to smell out back grain before it turns. Now, you are something else, not quite a name, not quite a role, just a story. People speak of you, whisper your name around fires and in wine-swept yurts. Children sit cross-legged while elders hush them with raised hands and narrowed eyes. They call you many things. The quiet one. The silk-eyed survivor, the ghost walker, the one who rode with the horde, the one who knows the roads the wolves won't walk. You never correct them. How could you? Words are wind, and wind, you've learned, moves how it pleases. Let it carry whatever tales it must. You live near the edge of things now. In a place no map would bother to draw. A low valley carved between hills of ash-colored stone. The wind whistles here in strange patterns. Sometimes it sounds like flutes, sometimes like crying. Your home is simple. A small wooden hut patched with furs and bark. Inside, a fire pit, a few clay pots, a pair of worn boots, a copper bowl, a folded blanket, and a scroll wrapped in old leather. That scroll, you still carry it. You've forgotten what it says, exactly parts of it blurred, the ink run from years of sweat and mist. But it doesn't matter. You remember what it meant to carry it, what it meant to not burn it. Next to the scroll, wrapped in a little twist of red cloth, is something else, a tiny braid of goat hair, frayed now, fragile. It could fall apart with a single sneeze of wind. But you keep it. The boy made it. The one who never made it through that first bitter winter. The boy who smiled without teeth and counted stars in the sky like they were silver coins. You remember his voice. Even now, years after it vanished into the snow, he'd whisper songs to the moon. Songs he barely knew the words to. He sang them anyway. You sometimes hum them now. Not aloud. Not really. Just in the silence between your breaths, the seasons roll by like slow wheels. Winters bite deep. Springs come too fast. Summers bring gnats and cracked heels. Autumn smell of firewood and memory. And each night, you do the same thing. You gather sticks. Boil broth in the copper bowl. Wrap yourself in the torn wool cloak you've patched more times than you can count. You sit by the fire and listen. To the crackle. To the wind. To your own breath moving in and out of your body like waves. Against shore. Sometimes travelers find you. Not many. Just a few. Lost ones, stragglers, traders who took the wrong pass, runaways, deserters, dreamers. People with stories clutched tightly in their fists. They ask you for directions. Sometimes. For food. Sometimes. For nothing at all. Just a place to rest where no questions echo. You give them what you can. A bowl of soup. A bed of moss. A place by the fire. You don't talk much, but they don't seem to mind. Something about your silence makes them speak more. Tell you things they've never said to anyone. They say you have listening eyes. You don't know what that means, but you accept it. One night, a woman comes, middle-aged, wine-chapped cheeks, eyes ringed with dust. She carries a bag too large for her frame and a dagger strapped to her hip like a forgotten tooth. She doesn't knock, just sits by your fire. She says nothing for a long time. Then she tells you a story about her brother, about how he rode east with the Khan's army and never returned, about how she dreams of him still riding across the sky on a horse made of smoke. She asks if you've seen him. You don't answer. You just reach into your pouch and hand her a smooth stone with a single mark carved on its surface, something meaningless but old. She weeps like rain on hard soil. Later, when she sleeps, you tuck an extra blanket around her. In the morning, she is gone. She leaves behind a half-eaten apple and a string of turquoise beads. This is your life now, a life made of echoes, of quiet exchanges, of warmth given and taken, a life without name, but not without meaning. Sometimes, late at night, you dream, not of your home. You don't remember your home anymore, but of the roads, the endless tracks carved by hoof and boot, the crackling of campfires in dark valleys, the jingle of stirrups, the weight of silence after a scream. You dream of Saran, the woman you once served, her sharp eyes, the way her voice could cut through snow. You wonder if she still lives, if she married, if she returned to her people or vanished like so many others. You dream of Barda, the trader who taught you how to count supplies and speak with your eyes. You imagine him still out there somewhere, trading bricks of tea for bolts of silk, still wrapping his feet in soft leather, still smiling with one side of his mouth. You even dream of the Khan, not the great Khan, but the lesser one, the one whose riders first took you. You see his shadow sometimes in the firelight, broad shoulders, heavy furs, blood on his hands always. You wonder if he ever thought of the lives he broke, if he remembered your face, if he could. The truth is, memory plays tricks, time rubs away details, makes you question what was real and what you invented just to survive. Did the boy really make that braid? Or did you? Was there really a fire the night you escaped the slave camp? Or is that just how you wanted it to end? Did you ever say your name again after that first year? You don't remember. But it doesn't matter. Not anymore. Because you've lived it. And that you've decided is enough. Some evenings when the sky turns red with dust, you climb the ridge behind your hut. It's not steep, but your knees protest. Your breath grows short. Still, you climb. At the top, you can see the old road now nearly swallowed by moss and creeping roots. You can see the distant outlines of mountains that once seemed like the edge of the world. You sit there. And for a long while, you just exist. Not as a prisoner, not as a servant, not even as a name, just as a presence, a memory that breathes. You hold the scroll in your lap, the braid in your hand. You look out at the road that took everything from you and gave you something strange. In return. Not peace. Not purpose, but continuity. You are still here. You are still breathing. Sometimes at night, you dream so vividly that you forget you're old. You wake with tears on your face and your arms curled protectively around your chest, as if you're still cradling someone. The cold wind slips through the cracks in your hut, but in your dreams the air is always warm, dusty, glowing. You dream of the boy. His eyes are impossibly bright, his hands always sticky with something. Dates, maybe. His laugh bubbles up through time like spring water. In the dream, you walk beside him. No chains, no fear, just long, sunlit steps across wide grasslands. Do you remember the stars that night? He asks. You do, all of them, every last one. And then the stars turn, and he's gone again like a paper lantern lifting into sky. You wake, clutching the braid. It's still there, still real. So are you? You grow quieter with time, even in your own mind. Words become heavy things. You find it hard to string them together. Not from age, your tongue still works, but from weight, from everything unsaid, from everything no one could understand. And yet, one night, something changes. You sit by the fire, same as always. The broth is warm, bitter with herbs. The cloak is wrapped tight around your shoulders. Your bones ache. Your eyes sting from smoke. And suddenly, you are not alone. The fire flickers, but there is no wind. The shadows shift, but there is no movement. Then, across the flames, you see her, Saran, exactly as she was, strong cheekbones, eyes like flint. Her voice sharp even in silence. She doesn't speak at first, just watches you, head tilted slightly. You blink. She is still there. You survived, she finally says. Her voice is calm, low, measured. As always, you nod. She nods back. Then she says something that shakes you. I didn't. You want to ask how? When? Why? But you already know. You knew even then. That day you saw her staring into the horizon with a look that didn't belong in the land of the living. You carried on, she says. That was the hardest part. You look at your hands, trembling, calloused, cracked, still here. Why are you here? You ask, your voice a gravelled whisper. To listen, she says. You never told anyone. Not once. She gestures at the fire. So you do. You speak. For the first time in years. Your voice comes out slow, like a falled river. But it flows, and it doesn't stop. You tell her about the nights spent under guard, the fear of being forgotten, the first time you smiled again, the first time you ate a full bowl of soup and didn't cry. You speak of Barda, of the lessons he taught, of the coins you hid in your boot, not because they were valuable, but because they made you feel like you had something. You speak of the old man with the scar on his cheek, of the prisoners who went mad, of the wolves that watched from the trees but never attacked. You speak of the boy, and the braid, and the winter that took him. By the time you are done, the fire is cold, Saran is gone, but your voice still lingers in the smoke. The next day, the air feels lighter. You climb the ridge again, not because you have to, not for ritual, just because. And at the top, you see something strange. A caravan. Far off in the distance, just a thread of movement, arms across sand, too far to see faces, too far to hear sounds, but they're. Alive. Moving. You smile, not because you wish to join them, but because you don't need to. You've walked that road, you've bled on it, laughed on it, lost pieces of yourself across it like breadcrumbs in a forest. But you've also found pieces, new ones, strange ones, pieces that don't match your old shape but fit your new one perfectly. And so now, when people whisper of you, the quiet one, the ghost walker, the one who knows the roads, even birds, won't follow you, no longer feel like a ghost. You feel whole. And when the wind howls outside your heart, you hum back to it. Not to fight it, but to sing with it. That night, you lie on your side, the scroll beside you, the braid still in your hand. Your breath is soft, rhythmic like a lullaby. First time in a long time, you sleep without dreaming, because now, finally, there is nothing left to remember and everything left to rest. And so now you rest, not as a prisoner, not as a servant, not as a name forgotten in the dust, but as a breath in the wind, a warmth by the fire, a story carried quietly from one soul to another. You've walked the roads, you've seen the sky darken and brighten again, you've wept and waited and endured, and now there is peace, nothing more to run from, nothing more to hold on to, just sleep. And if someone should pass by your little hut one day and ask who lived there, let them say, only this, a quiet one, who survived the silence and found their way home. Good night. You are safe now. You are home. You are free. Sleep well.